Don't you just love it when your video editing software stops working? That's what happened to me. Hello, people of Earth and beyond. My name is Shannon, if you're new here, and I've been having computer problems, so that's why I didn't post anything last week, but I'm making up for it today by posting my review of The Midnight Star by Marie Lu. This is the third book in the Young Elites series, third and final book, and I have to say, overall, I have really enjoyed this trilogy, and so today I'm just going to be talking about some of my thoughts on this book. I'm not gonna worry too much about the non-spoiler stuff. I'll just give a really short non-spoiler synopsis because at this point, I mean, if you're watching a video about the third book, you've probably read the other two. But I will give you a brief overview. The Young Elites series follows Adelina Amotaru, who had the blood fever when she was little and was marked by it. She lost her left eye and her hair turned silver. And those that have been marked by the blood fever in her society are called malfettos, and some of them have powers, and when Adelina runs away from home, she discovers that she has powers. That's where the first book kind of starts off. For the non-spoiler, I'm not going to talk about what happens in the third book just yet. But for all of you out there who don't want spoilers for the third book, I thought that the world building was really good, asterisk. I thought it was really good in the first book, and in this book it's not quite as good. Like, it's not built upon. We're introduced to a new culture in this book. We don't learn anything about them except that they have 3 kings, and so I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get more world building. However, I am glad that we get to delve into the mythology a little bit more in this book. And I love Marie Lu's writing style. I think she could have still described a little more what was going on around them, like describe each setting a little more. But overall, I love her writing style, and I love the intensity she puts into the really important scenes. And I think that's going to be about it for the non-spoiler section. I enjoyed it. If you want to read a book with some beautiful imagery and some good world building and with a really intriguing magic system and a really dark, twisted main character, then yeah, this book is for you, and that's all the non-spoilers I have, so let's just get into the spoilers now. So this is probably going to be the most disorganized review I've ever done, just because I don't know, I'm not going to go through and talk about each element, like the themes and the writing and the plot, because I just have a few things to say about different aspects of the book. So yeah, we're just gonna go in. I'm just gonna talk about a few things. First, let's talk about the pacing. This book felt really slow to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just read it slowly. But it felt like there was no urgency to it. So in this book, they find out that the elites, the malfettos with power, are basically dying, and the world is also dying, and it's because of repercussions from when an angel fell to earth. It's interesting, but the elites are supposedly the only people who can go and stop it, and so they have to enter the world of the gods and bargain with the gods and find out how to save the world. And Adelina has to team up with the rest of the elites. There's a lot of sailing in this book, which is fine. And it's not like every week is described in length, but for some reason, it feels very very, like I said, there's no sense of urgency. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, Adelina gets a note from Raphael that her sister is dying, and it she, I guess, sets sail immediately, but just doesn't. It takes her 3 weeks to get there, and she doesn't really believe necessarily that her sister is dying. I understand that traveling takes a long time, especially in a world that doesn't have airplanes or cars, but for some reason it just felt very slow in the beginning, and just, I don't know. I don't know. I felt like not a lot was happening at the beginning. I guess I'm gonna kind of go chronologically. Next thing that I can think of that happened was Enzo. Oh boy. Enzo deserved more, I guess. I guess that's the best way I can say it, because I felt like that was a major wasted opportunity. The thing I love about Marie Lu is that she takes tropes and twists them. Like, she did a resurrection trope with Enzo, but there were strings attached. He didn't just come back to life. No, he was bound to Adelina, and he wasn't quite himself. There was an interesting twist to it, but there was... she didn't use it enough in this book, in my opinion. I guess the scene where he almost convinces Adelina to kill herself kind of went by a little quickly for me, and it didn't give Enzo enough time in the story. Like, it was just like he was just there for that 1 second, and then he died again, and then he was gone, and it was like, okay, what was the point? Like, I feel like she could have done more with it. And you could say, you know, he was a catalyst for her finally going on the quest with the rest of the elites and working with them, because Adelina realized that she was not ready to die, so, you know, whatever, she went on the quest to save herself. But it doesn't even feel like that. I don't know. I just felt like it didn't have the impact it should have had. While we're talking about underdeveloped characters, let's just name a few. Michelle, they pretty much just dropped. If you watched my Rose Society video, you know that I was kind of ranting about how they had this character that literally we knew nothing about and just showed up every once in a while for convenience. He was not important. I feel like more could have been done with him. Well, she dropped him in this book. He's not there at all. So yeah, that was a little disappointing to me, because if you're gonna make a character, use him. Lucent, I feel like didn't develop at all. I still feel like her relationship with Maeve didn't really add anything. It was just kind of a subplot and not one that contributed to the overall story. Raphael didn't really develop, but I mean, I think he's a good character anyway. I liked getting Magiano's backstory, and I think he's developed enough. But let's talk about Adelina. On the flip side of characters being underdeveloped or just being kind of static, Adelina goes through a lot of development throughout the series, and in this book I think her development was particularly good. I like that she felt remorse at the very end. I think her progression basically into insanity was done very well, and I think her coming to grips with everything was done very well too. And so I like how at the end she was remorseful. I'm going to talk more about the ending later on, but I like her redemption arc that doesn't just bring her back as a hero in the end. I'll talk about that in just a second. I realize I've been rather negative up to this point, and I'm not trying to be. I actually did enjoy this book. There were a few things that I didn't like quite so much about it, and obviously I'm nitpicking. I still don't think that Marie Lu is the best character writer, at least not for her side characters. Like, the most main characters, like Adelina, Raphael, Violetta, Magiano, she does really well with all of those, but the ones that are really side characters, like Lucent, Michelle, Sergio, they're just kind of there, and not that I want to focus on them, but I want to know a little bit about who they are. Like, they're there for a reason, right? And I really liked the mythology in this book. I actually didn't expect for it to come into play as much as it did in this book. I didn't expect them to actually meet the gods, but I really liked how all that turned out. And it does kind of answer a question for me about the world building. I thought during the Rose Society, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my last video or not, but I thought it was a little odd that she kind of didn't talk about religion in the other countries, so it kind of felt like everyone on this planet, Earth, whatever world this is, had the same religion, which is actually extremely unlikely in world building. I mean, different cultures have their different beliefs, but if she's going to actually bring in and confirm which deities are real in this world, then I guess it really doesn't matter if other cultures have different deities, because these are the ones that exist. So that for me kind of solved that problem. I'm also not sure how I feel about Taryn's inclusion in the quest. Like, I mean, okay. I like his death scene a lot. I feel like it was just a really good wrap up to his character. But what he does while he's like actually on the quest with them, like just traveling with them, like I don't know, it feels like he doesn't do a whole lot there. I liked his death scene, so as long as that was in there, I guess it's okay. Speaking of death scenes, I have to talk about Violetta's death. This scene, oh my gosh, this scene. I couldn't read it. Not Violetta's death, which is, you know, sad, but and necessary because of how it ends. But I just, at this point in the story, Adelina is pretty much insane or close to it. And so her reaction is understandable for someone who's going through grief. You know, she's denying that her sister is dead, but then she turns around and accuses Taryn of killing her. And I just couldn't read it because I had to skim over that part because all logic has abandoned her at that point. I know a lot of it's due to grief. I know it's also coupled with the whispers in her head and the fact that she's kind of going insane. But I just, like, I understand it and it was well done, but I had to skip past it because I was like, no, that's not logical. That's, what are you doing? I cringed. Alright, let's talk about the ending because that is my favorite part of this book, which kind of sounds bad. It sounds like I wanted the book to end, but I really liked how everything wrapped up. I don't get to say this very often, but I was right. I called it. So I was right in thinking that Adelina would die at the end of the book, and I think it was actually incredibly well done, like the sacrifice she made for her sister. And so I like that little bit of remorse, and I like that she doesn't just come back and everything's all sunshine and rainbows because everyone's happy again and she gave up her powers, now she's a good person. No. And yeah, we avoided a potentially messy ending, but I think it was the best ending for this particular character. That being said, I have to talk about the epilogue. I don't really know how I feel about the epilogue, how Adelina comes back, like, in the Midnight Star. Ha ha ha. The Midnight Star, like, she becomes a constellation and eventually returns to Earth. And, you know, it's not really clear if she'll stay on Earth or eventually just go back to being a constellation. I think the latter because that's what happened in the myth. Anyway, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I have mixed feelings. Okay, on the one hand, I thought it was good that she didn't come back, like that she actually died, and that at the end she died because she was being selfless and realized it. On the other hand, I'm really glad that she doesn't come back right away. I think that it's a really poignant way for her to come back, because Magiano and Violetta are waiting for her, and Magiano follows the star, hoping one day to reunite with her, and eventually does. So it's very poignant. I could have gone either way. I could have lived without the epilogue. I could have lived with her just being a constellation for the rest of eternity. But I think, like, the way it's done, it's at least sad and sweet. It's very bittersweet. I loved the ending of this book, and I really didn't want to be interrupted while reading the end of it. So I think it was a good way to end the series, and I like that they all lose their powers. The elites do. I like that they lose their powers just because it's that feeling of something was lost. They all had to give up something. And honestly, I guess they don't really need them anymore if they don't have the Malfetto markings. Also, I loved the description of the underworld. I think that's where Marie Lou's description really shone. Again, I would have liked a little more description just before that in general settings, but other than that, the story was easy to follow, and the present tense really worked. And like I said in my little non-spoiler synopsis, I think she could have done more with the other cultures that they encountered. I just feel like she set something up with the world building in the first book and didn't add to it hardly at all. And so I felt like this one at least was lacking a little bit there, because I expect every book to kind of build on the previous ones with whatever world has been established. I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the series, and I would recommend this series to other people. So that's pretty much it. That's my review. I know it was really short, but those were all of my thoughts on the Midnight Stars. So hopefully I will not have any more computer problems, and see everybody next week.